And we're back for another weekly AI Roundup. It is the 2nd of June and this was run this morning on last week's videos. So for those who haven't seen this before, this is a automated AI generated summary of the news and content that I consumed last week while trying to keep up with AI news for my business, Aerion Technologies. And this is a way that I share this with my team. And then because I'm sharing it with the team, I might as well share it with everyone else on the internet. If I'm going to the effort of making a video, why not? So here we go. I haven't read this before. Hey friends, here's everything that caught my eye this week in AI and tech. From groundbreaking developments in self-coding agents and the open source movement to sobering warnings about AI-driven economic disruption. We're diving into the shifts from generative AI to operational agents, deep innovations, from DeepSeek to Microsoft's bold open source move, and even insights from top industry figures like companies like GitHub and DeepMind. There's a lot of exciting news. You don't want to miss it. Well, there was a lot of stuff going on last week. Don't remember much off the top of my head, but we'll figure that out as we go through this. So AI agents are changing everything. A big trend building momentum right now is AI agents. Software that autonomously handles tasks, potentially revolutionizing industries. At Dubai AI Week 2025, it was pretty clear that businesses are shifting from selling isolated AI tools like Midjourney or ChatGPT to integrated AI ecosystems that power entire workflows. Sectors like finance, aviation, and government are investing in these big automation agents to enhance operational efficiency massively. This is supported further by Cole Medan's demonstration of AGUI, a new open source standard making it incredibly easy to connect AI agents directly with user-friendly interfaces. AGUI fills a critical gap in agent-based applications, simplifying front-end interactions with complex back-end processes. I don't remember exactly the details of this because I was just listening to this video and wasn't watching it, but it was trying to set up a standard that will allow you to add agents to a product and then be able to view sort of the steps and the process that the agent takes to execute a task. Don't know if it's an industry standard or not, but it's something that someone's trying to get out there. On the back-end protocol side, the hype around MCP is justified, and I believe it is. We're building an MCP server for DevReady, which will help share your context of your product that you're designing with any of the AI coding tools. And we've already got internal tests running where it's showing huge improvements over what's possible. It is enabling robust, composable agentic AI applications, there's a complicated sentence, that can integrate heavily with real-time data platforms like Apache Kafka, potentially changing enterprise as we know it. So if you go and look up on NAN or Make, there's hundreds of MCP services, every product that has one. There's one that provides context for developer frameworks. There's a Stripe one, so then your agents can write Stripe code better. It's just providing more information to your agent, and then the MCP server then provides the ability for those agents to then call APIs without having to call the API directly. They just call it following that standard protocol, the MCP, and then that does everything behind the scenes to call the APIs. Arise CEO Aparna Dinkaran talked about this practicality too, discussing the crucial evolution frameworks needed to ensure these AI agents actually work reliably in real-world scenarios, like multimodal and voice-based interactions. Honestly, I can't remember anything about that video, or what was discussed. It's probably one of those just like sessions where they're explaining things. Colin Flaherty, it's a complicated name to say. Flaherty, I don't know how you, Flaherty, from Augment Code, took automation even further, explaining how they've created self-coding agents. And he's mentioned it several times during that talk that the agent had written over 90% of the code that the agent was built on. It's 20,000 lines of code apparently. And apparently it's doing some good stuff around where it's being used. Microsoft and GitHub have open sourced AI productivity. So one of this week's surprising moves, which this probably came out 2 weeks ago maybe, was that GitHub Copilot was open source under the MIT license, but it's only the Visual Studio Code extension of Copilot that has been made open source, not the entire stack. That means how it connects to Copilot is open sourced. Apparently, this opens up game-changing opportunities for developers everywhere, sparking new innovation while potentially shaking up Microsoft's relationship with AI. So I'm really gonna have to look into that one a bit more, because my understanding was, yeah, it's a Visual Studio Code plugin that is open source, not the actual Copilot stack. If it was the whole Copilot stack, that'll be a lot more interesting, because then you can take that and build your own version of it, or fork it, or do whatever you want with it. GitHub CEO Thomas Domke broke down this decision further, describing how AI coding assistants are already generating about 25% of code in Copilot-enabled projects. It's shifting developer roles to more of an overseeing and validation position, enhancing rather than eliminating human input. Domke also touched on vibe coding, an emerging prototyping paradigm, and speculated about AI-driven operating systems. So the vibe coding is where you get the AI to help you code. A lot of talk about is where software engineers or coders are going to be in the future. You're going to be more like operators and validators and code direction or product managers guiding the AI, reviewing it, helping it get the right output rather than coding and just accepting. DeepSeek's big disruption and battle among giants. So DeepSeek R1, everyone was speculating that there'd be an R2 released, but there wasn't an R2. It was R1.5, I think. What does it say here? Oh, it's just the new model. I think it's R1.5. This was really the one that really shook up everything, I think, in December or January with the reasoning models, and then everything started to kick off from there. So the updated DeepSeek R1 model shook things up significantly, closely rivaling OpenAI's latest O3 model and Google's Gemini 2.5 Pro. Independent testing shows outstanding benchmark improvements, possibly due in part to tactics like knowledge distillation, training newer models on outputs from competitors. This move heavily disrupts the market dominance held by larger proprietary AI systems. So training from different models is interesting because you now have another source which is going to be different. It's been trained on different weights and different processes. So if you can use OpenAI to generate output, or Gemini or anything else to generate the output for your model, then it's no longer going to be sort of like biased output where it's feedback loops happening, because it's not the same system generating the output that it's consuming. So it's an interesting position that they're taking there. In practical tests like advanced coding scenarios, DeepSeek still has room to grow and genuinely overtake competitors like Google. But I don't know if they're going to overtake Google, but any of these models can overtake any of the other models over time. Whether they overtake the actual business is a completely different story, and I doubt that. Its unprecedented open source accessibility poses major geopolitical and economic implications, possibly shifting AI market dynamics significantly towards open source options. So this is interesting because in 2019, the US started the sanctions on China, and it was mainly China, not Taiwan, because Taiwan is the semiconductor hub of the planet at the moment. They started imposing restrictions on China to limit access to semiconductors and graphics cards, and then there's huge sanctions on graphics cards so that they can't use the fastest, highest, most powerful graphics cards for the training of their models. But they were able to create DeepSeek using old hardware that was not as performant for fractions of the cost of what OpenAI has spent, as an example. So there's huge issues there around the open source movement and how it's trying to keep up with the private. But then also there's the geopolitical issues that people are worrying about. If DeepSeek R1, Chinese model, if that's getting used by everyone, what sort of security risk does that pose? What are they doing inside the code? What does it do in the back end? It's learning about everyone. So it's not just like the CIA eavesdropping, it's everyone, the China and other countries, their models. It's really interesting to see how this is going to play out. Open source is important, much more important than it was 20 years ago now, because everyone uses it. There's a big stigma around it a long time ago. But it's used by everyone. It's community maintained. You can push things out. Microsoft's done a huge transition to it. But I understand the concern of these models and like the AGI, so the artificial general intelligence. When we get to that scale or that level, what is that going to mean? Because the country that gets that first can sort of control everything already. Like that model can then go and do whatever it wants anytime. It doesn't need control. So if you can get that out there first, then what sort of position are you going to be in? And then what does that mean for the rest of the world? I've got no freaking clue. It's things above my pay grade. AI's double-edged sword, warnings from leaders. Anthropic CEO and former OpenAI VP, Dario Amodei, delivered a chilling warning of a looming job crisis, anticipating that within 1 to 5 years, around half of all entry-level white-collar jobs could be obsolete due to advanced LLMs like Claude Opus 4. Modi pointed out a surprising lack of preparedness, urging governments toward bold policy actions, possibly through token taxes and other redistributive tools. This is something I've been saying for a while. We know people are saying that AI is going to take people's jobs. I did not know that the AI coding tools would get so good so fast. Go to December, we still said it was probably years away. And then come January, February, and it's like coding tools everywhere, and it's amazing what these models can do now. I've sort of had the stance over the last 2 years that eventually when it does take over, those third world countries where developers are coding, where you're going there because of the economies of scale and because it's so cheap, they will have a bigger problem than the Western countries probably. Because you already have a person leading the team telling them what to do, but if that person can lead a team of agents who can do the same thing, why do you need them? And then you can get the same output 24/7 rather than people over there where the knowledge is lost and people bounce around during lunchtime in different companies. Like, there is going to be job losses. I don't know what that means. I don't know what it's going to look like. It's very concerning, especially because I never thought coding would be the thing that gets it first, but it seems like it's going to be one of the things that gets it first. You've seen these massive tech layoffs because of AI. I think was it Microsoft or IBM? One of them did layoffs I was reading over the weekend. 30% of the people laid off were project managers. 40% of the people were software engineers. So being able to do more with AI is definitely something that's happening. A similar sentiment echoed in the video Why the AI Revolution Has a Fatal Flaw. AI tools transforming medicine and material science are incredible, yet the flip side is potentially devastating economic instability through mass job displacement. I'm not one to comment on the economy and financial modeling and all this stuff, but my understanding is there's a sweet spot of actual unemployment where you need a certain number of people unemployed, a certain number of people fighting for positions for the economy to run smoothly. But if we go from 3 to 5% unemployment to 20, 25%, what does that mean for the government? What does that mean for consumerism and the entire market when you're creating products or services and there is no longer a viable cohort of people or a community of people who can pay for them because they've been put out of a job and don't have the money. So you're making stuff, you're putting people out of a job and you're making stuff for those people, but they don't have the money for it anymore. I don't know what's going to happen here. It's really interesting. And then I also watched a video from a company called Felicis Ventures, founder whose name is Aiden Senkut. He was one of the lead product owners and then he's gone up to multiple different levels and now runs a VC fund from Google. And he learned about he was talking about this 10x principle, stressing that market selection, diversity and resilience in leaders lead to immense opportunities. So he's gotten apparently a lot of unicorns in his fund because he follows these certain key principles, which for the life of me, I can't remember what they are. But go watch the video and you'll learn. It was a very interesting talk. And finally, DeepMind founder Demis Hassabis explored intriguing ideas around an intelligence explosion, the concept of rapidly self-improving AI, citing breakthroughs like AlphaZero and the recent Absolute Zero reasoner models where they have no training, they understand the rules to a game and build out from there. These advancements may bring accelerated capabilities, particularly in AI coding and mathematical reasoning. Exciting yet unpredictable ground. Closing thoughts. Well, that wraps up another week packed with AI and tech development. Clearly, AI agents are taking center stage, promising productivity leaps, but equally raising important questions we need to address quickly. Microsoft's open source movers, DeepSeek's disruptive updates, and insights from industry leaders highlight where speeding into uncharted territory. Let's keep exploring together, stay curious, and see you next week. And an update, so all of this was made up of 16 videos that I watched throughout the week, which was about 341 minutes apparently, because I'm recording and logging all of this, which is about almost 6 hours, so 5 hours and 40 minutes of content just on AI last week. Well, see you next week.